And welcome everybody to the final episode of the Hawkeye Spoilercast for episode 6, and more like the whole series as a complete package, as we tend to do over here. And of course, I'm Mitch. You can follow me on Twitter if you want, Mitch692. I'm kind of phasing out of Twitter at the minute. I'm not entirely sure. And as usual, I'm here with Sean.
Hey, you can join me on Instagram on Marvin the Martian _12. I don't join the toxic, Twitter thing, so I'm kind of under orders not to do that.
And of course, being the last episode in the Spoilercast, would not be complete without Jared from the Nerd Academy podcast.
Hey guys, how's it doing? Excited to be here for my, usual end of season talk. I am very addicted to Twitter, and I won't be going anywhere anytime soon.
I'm fully addicted to it. I'm just kind of like, I want to at least start probably get a new account and just start claiming.
I'm not allowed to be social media active.
Understandable.
Like, under strict supervision.
So yeah, Hawkeye. It has come to a close after 5 weeks. It should have been 6. I was not a fan of the 2-in-1. It didn't need to happen that way, but
yeah,
we are here.
I mean, it's just this is how they're gonna roll them out. So,
I mean, I hope we don't start everything with 2. I prefer, if you're gonna have 6 episodes, you have 6 weeks.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
I think it's gonna get a lot harder because of all the volume of shows that are coming out. So I think they're trying to get that into get people used to like that schedule, and like it'll help them in the long run too, because like you just don't know how much stuff is coming down the pipeline, and like it's gonna be hard to kind of squeeze all that in. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's just.
I mean, there's always going to be an eventual overlap with stuff. Just
but
why even bother fighting it?
I'm still slightly salty. I don't get stuff on Fridays anymore. Like I missed that. I hope.
Come on.
What was that?
Wednesdays are the new Friday. So
I know. Here's my hope. I hope whenever we reach a fever pitch of a lot of content, Star Wars gets Fridays back. That's my thing. I want that.
This is what I was going to say. You have there's at least 5 days you can do for the week. You can have like Marvel Wednesday, or even do Marvel Monday. Have it on Monday. Have Star Wars on Friday.
Yeah,
something like that.
Again, it's like once the stuff, like a lot of this stuff gets rolled out, it's sort of at the beginning of it, like like the start of all these shows, and once the volume of content comes, they're going to probably allocate those days for those properties. So.
It's just that when this is not me dunking on Star Wars in the slightest, it kind of is though, but when Star Wars can't get anything off the ground right now, it seems kind of weird to cater to the Star Wars schedule when they're on like 1 show a year, maybe. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hey, next year there's going to be like 3.
I'm going to tell you
4 counting Boba Fett.
I think as of next year, when those new shows come out, like people dog on Cassian Andor, but you guys have.
Oh, I would dog on it.
Yeah,
it could win every single award on the planet. It's a Cassian Andor show.
Well, I'll allow you to dog on it as right now. Yeah, I think we'll have a different discussion about it.
I can tell you, like, I'm open to the show being good. I'm not going to say, it's bad because it's Cassian Andor.
Yeah.
It's just the fact it's a Cassian. We didn't need Rogue One. We don't need a Cassian Andor show. That's just me on it entirely.
A lot of people say people say that a lot about a lot of things. Like, they don't need this. Why did they put this out? Then they put it out, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm glad it's here because, I mean, again, people dog on the fact that it's Cassian Andor, but like, it's just, it comes down to like Disney using, like, maximizing the license. You got a built-in audience with Rogue One. Why not? There's an interesting story to be told from that. I mean, again, you can dog on Rogue One. I liked it. They took.
I mean, I'm very much the minority on that one. I'm fully aware.
Well, they took a line of dialogue and they made a pretty decent movie out of it. And I think with the show, I think people are gonna find that it's, they took a line of dialogue out of Rogue One and they're gonna make a pretty interesting show out of it. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I think people. I mean, again, I'm not saying this as biased or anything like that. Like I'm contractually obligated to say things, but I don't know. I mean, if I don't like it, I'll say something. But I think from what I saw, I liked. So I don't know. I'll leave it at that.
But back to Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I just realized this is not the Cassian Andor dogging out. That's dogging out is not what I meant to say there.
Yeah.
But Hawkeye, the least liked Avenger, I think it's fair to say. But whether that's right or wrong to say,
I was gonna say, like,
the public consensus,
unfairly
least liked Avenger, and the show pokes fun at that.
Yeah,
I like to think the whole reason the Rogers musical exists is purely for that one line of introducing Hawkeye, just to dog on him a little bit. It's like, you know what, I'm fine with that existing for that one line alone, and I appreciate that line.
That's the German.
And I'm glad somebody here likes Rogers.
See, I could honestly watch that entire show.
I don't think I could. I know it's intentionally corny and silly. And like, I love Hamilton, so like, zero room to talk shit. Sorry, I forgot I'm not allowed to cuss. But there's a part of my brain that just kind of like switches off, because it's like it deliberately has that feeling of like people who don't do theater writing theater, and it's really funny on that level. I could watch that Rogers bit one time, and then when I saw it the second time, I was like, ah.
I'll be honest with you. Like, I mean, I lived in New York for like almost over 20 years.
Yeah.
And I would go to Broadway frequently, and like I can. And how many shows that I seen that look just like that, had songs just like that, that are just slightly off Broadway, But like, I think the whole point of that bit was it's supposed to be corny intentionally. It's intentionally.
Yeah, it does its job. I am so surprised by the amount of people who like unironically are like, "Oh, I love Rogers the musical." I'm like, "How? What?"
100% unironic. That unironically adore that
off Broadway show. After this,
I think it's the right amount of cheese. Like, a serious musical, it's not a hard sell for me. Like, I'll watch it and I can enjoy it, but give me something like that. Like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Give me that like satirical cheese.
Yeah, and I think that like scratches that itch, that it. We'll get to the end. There's a thing on the end that of the the stinger that involves this that we'll talk about. I'll tell you.
Let's just start with that, because that's a point of contention, because people are going, "Oh, it's the worst thing on the planet." It's like.
I think people are just so like, and I'm saying this as a fan. I think people are a little too spoiled when it comes to like stingers and stuff like that. Not everything has to serve a purpose. I think this was just like a nice little, hey, happy Merry Christmas, here, like, and the original idea of that bit, and you can thank COVID for this not happening, was they were going to pan over and see Yelena on the audience. So, but that Yelena.
Oh man.
But COVID, that didn't happen. It's just unfortunate.
We can CGI Betty Brant into a scene in No Way Home, but we can't CGI Yelena into a Broadway musical theater audience. That's disappointing.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's canon to me that she's there now. So.
Oh yeah, I'm counting that.
But that's the unfortunate part that didn't happen. And that's for the people that didn't like that. You can't make everybody happy, No,
it's unfortunate that musicals have this stigma about them. I had a friend who's like, I love Hawkeye, hated the stinger. It's like, don't like musicals. It's like, no. Well, any musical, doesn't matter what it is, he will outright not.
I love musicals and I hate Rogers, and I thought it was funny. Like,
do you think that people were just more disappointed that there was nothing that was gonna be hinted?
I think it's a double. I think it's a combination of A, it's a musical. B, people have come to expect the mid credits and post credit scenes to push something forward.
Yeah. Well, their line of thought was it's the end of the year, you know.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of fun at the end of the year, you know. Everyone.
Yeah, it's that it was never meant, and there was like that was the only bit that with Yelena, that was the only thing. There was nothing going to be like hinting at what was going to happen. It was just kind of like poking. I mean,
I think a part of me thinks if Yelena was actually shown in it, people might have accepted it a bit more.
I mean,
absolutely.
Again, if people,
because it's Yelena. Like, if any new character from this year out of the 9 things Marvel's introduced, Yelena's won it by a mile.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's red hot, man. Like, I mean, you have an award, like a Academy Award winning actress, you know, basically, yet another, you know, prestige actor in the Marvel universe, you know, and like, I mean, she's great. She loves it, you know. She loves it. I mean, from what I've heard, Robert Redford loved what he was doing in these movies. You know, it's like I don't know. She's a standout character for me, also.
So she's hands down the best one, and that's
Sweetheart.
coming from someone that adores Kate in the comics. I would absolutely go Kate over Yelena. Like Yelena's that star on this year. Easily.
I'm inclined to agree with you on that. I also think that like with the post-credit discourse, I think that, you know, I made a joke about this on Nerd Academy a week or two ago about how, you know, the show's called Hawkeye, not Kingpin.
Yeah.
And there's like
I'm
you know, Disney Plus and Marvel have done such a good job with these like legacy characters who like are big reveals and stuff, like showing up, like doing it right, you know. But it's fans who have the media literacy of a puppy who make it so hard to enjoy stuff like this.
Well,
you know,
you can also put kind of place the blame on like YouTubers that like kind of pump up that aspect. You know,
that's exactly who I'm talking about. Absolutely.
Games specifically. I'm saying that like very, you know, as I'm saying.
It's a thing. I think everyone's aware that the internet hyperbolizes everything.
It's
like, just... Sorry, Sean, as you were saying, bud.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, someone say something.
It's just so frustrating. Like I love Daredevil. Daredevil's like my second favorite superhero when it comes to Marvel, next to Spidey, and so excited to get, you know, Charlie back in Spider-Man and you know, see D'Onofrio in Hawkeye. I was so hyped by that. And by the fact that he practically confirmed it on Twitter 5 weeks ago, which was hilarious. But, you know, and while I'm like, okay, cool, the big bad is going to be Kingpin, the entire internet's just like, I can't wait for Kingpin. And it's like, are you even watching the story that's happening? Or are you just here to go, I know that guy? Like, everybody who, like, watches, like, the Star Wars and the Marvel stuff on Disney Plus, like, I get this vibe from so many people that they just live the life of the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood meme. Like, that is just the only way they consume media, is to just, like, oh, and, like, at the TV when they recognize something. And it's like, I am excited by this thing. I love this thing. Like, so excited to have Kingpin back. And it was a great moment. And he kills it as always. And he's well written, and the costume ripped from Family Business. It's awesome. The show is called Hawkeye. Kingpin is not the main attraction here. And it's like that. I think people with the post-credit scene, like, needed to have it beaten over their head that Kingpin was still alive. I think that was the big thing.
I don't
like, show me him with the things over his eyes.
I don't understand how we are days, hours. In fact, actually, by the time this is out, it might actually very well. Actually, no, it won't. It's actually be out tonight. It's 2022 within a week. People still don't understand. If you don't see the body, it's not dead.
but you also got to look at the people that are saying these things are like the people that aren't like. I don't see too many people that are media savvy saying this. They're all the people that are like, you know,
I mean, it's just average people.
Such a frustrating thing. I've seen it. I've had people text me it, and I'm like I don't even need to answer this question. Like, if you don't know the movie tropes, then go to the library.
Storytelling.
Movie tropes, and like you read it, and like it's all basic 101 stuff. Like like there was no body, so most likely
we're on the back end of the decade of Game of Thrones, and people don't understand how death works in media.
Well,
it blows my mind.
It does not surprise me in the least that people are saying this. Like, I was almost kind of half expecting people to ask me the same question. So why did you bring back D'Onofrio just to kill him off? I've had that texted me 15 times after the show, and I'm like, I'm not going to answer any of these questions anymore because this is the stupidest question I've ever seen. I feel insulted when you ask me any questions. Like, just, if you're going to ask me a question, ask me an intelligent question. Like, no, he's not.
Like, how is he this much stronger now?
Yeah,
I know it's basic like media, movie, TV power scaling, and every character in the MCU has done it over the course of the decade. But
that's the other thing that the there's like discourse on is like, so people are still asking me, is this the Netflix Daredevil? I mean, Kingpin. It's like, this is the MCU Kingpin. Like this, like
there is no distinction.
Yeah, there's not really a distinction. They just pulled the character over, and they are using the MCU logic to apply it to the character. That's it. They're gonna do the same thing to Daredevil. I'm gonna burst people's bubbles right now. It's not good. You're not gonna see the grounded Netflix version of that character. You're still gonna get the same character, but it's gonna be it's gonna be a little heightened.
It's no different, because me and Armin had this conversation as well. If you go back to like Iron Man 1, right, he builds the suit, he goes to the Middle East, he does the fighting, he dodges the tank and all this sort of stuff. He comes back and Pepper's like, oh my god, is that bullet holes? It's like, right, well, these little automatic rifles have made bullet holes in this suit, yet the guy took a tank missile to the face and nothing. There's just a black smudge on his mask. Like, there's obvious power scaling in these things, so I don't understand how people isn't even an argument for anything.
There is, like, so there's a slight difference between the characters that you see in the Netflix thing, and like, it's the Netflix never meant to be a comic book version of these characters.
Yeah,
they were never intended to be, that type of character. I mean, maybe at one point that they were going to be inserted in the universe, and didn't happen, and it just kind of like veered off in another direction in the timeline or whatever. But the characters that you see in Netflix, it's so, I don't know, it's so hard to explain. Not hard to explain, but it's like, it's the same character, but not. Like it's it is Kingpin, but it's like,
it's the same character, it's different characteristics.
Yeah, it's more comic book. This is look, if you've read Daredevil, this is what the character does. I mean, like, the character does rip doors off of of vehicles, and stuff like that. They just didn't want to portray that in the Netflix stuff. They went into those characters as being, let's kind of ground the characters in like a form of reality.
You're absolutely right. Like, in the show, you don't get the vibe from like Daredevil that he has any power other than like the slight echolocation and like being able to scrap.
Like like in the comics, like, Daredevil is like jumping off buildings and like swinging through the air just as much as Spider-Man is, right? They didn't do that in Netflix stuff, one, because they didn't have the budget to do it, so they had to.
We had that one jump off the building at the end of season 1.
So they had the fact that they couldn't do it, so why attempt it? So this is what their version of the character is. Like, he did a little bit of that stuff in I think season 2, where he jumped off the hospital building, to fight the Hand. But like, for the most part, he's not swinging off buildings. But when you see him the next time you see this character, he might very well be doing all that stuff. You know, not to say that you're going to see Charlie Cox on a green screen somewhere, but like it's the same with Kingpin. It's like, you know, Kingpin did some crazy stuff in the Netflix stuff, but he never did. You know, I don't know. You know, I just kind of like I felt like people were just trying to finding a reason to not like the show, so they were just like picking and nitpicking and stuff, and it was just like, I don't know. You know, it was a little frustrating to read when I read those things. Not that it bothered me. It's just kind of like, you know, like everybody's focusing on these little nitpicks, and they're like not seeing,
completely ignoring the rest of the show.
Yeah, and you like you complain about Hawkeye's character not getting his due. He's getting his due in this show, but you're not paying attention to the show. You know, you're paying attention to what's over there. You know, like, I mean, like, let's face it, like Brenner was at his best. Like this is the guy that Disney signed when they signed him from the Hurt Locker. This is that guy. Like this is like you in the scenes. It's like he got things to do that he never got the chance to do in these movies. But,
yeah,
absolutely. This is his best turn as Hawkeye yet.
Yeah, 100%.
Like far and away.
But since you've got like only a few minutes, Jared, what are your overall thoughts on the show? And the season finale?
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the show as a whole. I don't think this was my favorite season finale. You know, again, I think that I think that there may. Again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm the exact person I was criticizing of like, oh, I needed more Kingpin. Because it wasn't that I specifically needed more Kingpin. I think there may have been something. I feel like the show would have had a little bit more of a foreboding nature with Kingpin if he was a big bad we saw once or twice throughout the show before the finale. Now, again, with Marvel, one of the most difficult things about, like, you know, doing any type of, you know, reviews or anything with the MCU is that, you know, everything is this very living machine. You don't know what the next chapter is. You don't know what is being done deliberately to set up for another thing, for better or worse. So I don't. For now, my biggest critique of Hawkeye as a whole is that I feel like trying to shroud Kingpin in mystery may have been a mistake, just because you can build him up a little bit more and have a little more time with him to like have his reveal be a little bit more like, oh my God, here we go. Like not in terms of like again, the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood pointing at the screen, but in terms of the, oh shit, like he is on the board now. He's no longer observing. He's putting himself in play, and now our heroes are in the mud in a very scary way for them. Other than that, I thought that there were some pacing problems with the finale, but other than that, you know, Yelena and Clint's conversation on the ice rink was beautiful. The multi-room brawl between Yelena and Kate was great. Again, pardon me, I can't breathe because the seasons change by the hour in Pennsylvania. But yeah, no, I think Hawkeye was a lot of fun. I think it was super cool. I enjoy this entry a lot as a whole. I can't wait to see more from Kate Bishop. I think it's a really cool legacy character. I think the speculation that Clint wouldn't make it out of this show alive, I'm glad that was incorrect.
I never understood that one. It's like, did people just want Clint to die and Kate to go on, or did we not understand that they exist at the same time? In their stories are together for the most part.
You can't have two superheroes with the same name. Clearly, they've never read a Batman comic. But
I don't know
how many Robins are there.
I don't know why everybody hard on for killing Clint, and you know, like it just seems
I think a lot of it is it's Hawkeye.
Yeah,
it's Hawkeye. Who cares about Clint Barton Hawkeye? Like, who's this guy?
I think, but I was like, the show is supposed to give you that, right? And like, I think it succeeded in so many aspects of that show, but like, I still see people who are like, well, Black Widow should have been alive. It's like, nah. Well, for one, Scarlett Johansson. So
my argument with that is whenever like a choice in a death is made, like the Black Widow and the Hawkeye fight on Boromir, it's like, oh no, but she should have stayed alive. It's like, that's precisely why she dies.
Yeah,
because you care about her more.
Yeah.
It's actually got an impact. Well, if it was Clint and everyone's like, oh no, Clint's worth to just kill him off, you're not going to have that impact.
I mean, if you go back to all the people like on Endgame, like when people were like, let's just kill Clint off, it doesn't matter. Like I hear that talk in almost every conversation I heard about like who's gonna live and who's gonna die in Endgame. They're like, Hawkeye will die eventually, blah blah blah. Like they kind of pawned it off as like, I don't know. It's like that was the point of the show, is make you care. And I
there's
think
also a level of telling on oneself for like not understanding how any of this works to go, since nobody cares about him, we'll kill him.
Yeah.
It's like completely antithetical to the point of like, no, you kill somebody, like you do you watch movies, or you just kind of question somebody's.
The same people that complain about no stakes in these things are the same people that are like, oh, just kill the one no one cares of. Well, if you kill the one no one cares, there's no stakes to that.
Yeah.
If you put the people you care about in jeopardy, then yes, there's the stakes.
Yeah. I don't know. I think probably one of the top tier. And I'm speaking as a fan. I think this is like one, like at my top of the Marvel TV shows so far.
I understand that.
Yeah, it's definitely out of the 9 things. I can't believe we've got 9 things this year. That is why after a year's break, having 9 things that are all wildly different to one another.
Yeah,
like kudos on that factor. It's definitely, for being one of the smaller ones. It's very, it's obviously a more personal show. It is absolutely one of the strongest, if not maybe the strongest. Just because I think the job done with Kate Bishop alone.
There's a very little things that didn't work in the show. Very little. And like what didn't work wasn't like monumentally that made, if it, it wasn't the biggest problem I had with the show, and I've made it clear, was like the Kate Bishop's mom, and like that whole thing was kind of like all over the place, but I think there's not a perfect show.
No.
So I think, like I think for the most part, every storyline kind of stuck landing. Like maybe people can disagree with me or not. I feel like the watch part stuck the landing.
The watch part is the only thing I'll point out and be like, that didn't work for me.
Yeah, I think
it felt like
Sean is directly adding me for the watch thing.
I mean, we've had this conversation as well on here. It's like this watch for. I get it's a side plot thing, but the messaging at the start when they brought in like the black market auction, it was so muddled for me to, is this watch important or not? Where even is this watch right now?
So going back to what Jarrett said like earlier, like the biggest problem with the MCU now is like juggling all these balls.
Yeah.
And like putting the balls into in its place and stuff. Or better metaphor is probably checkers, because you're moving pieces into place for a later time, and like when you do that, sometimes it kind of muddles everything. Like a lot of that's what I love. I'm gonna be on the opposite end of what Jarrett said. I love stuff that does that. That makes me think about things like, oh, is this going to be more important later on? I don't need answers right away. I never need answers, right away. If it comes back around, perfect. If it doesn't, I'm not mad. Like it's not like a huge thing that's going to be like a make or break on anything that I don't know. Some people just put a little bit too much importance on like smaller things.
No, I agree, and I want to say like as well, like I love that like little detail type stuff that comes back with a vengeance later. Like I love that kind of thing. Like with the watch, and Mitch, I don't know how you feel about this one in particular, but
this is your Kid Loki moment, Mitch. Yeah. Yeah,
There's somebody who has Loki in their top TV spot for the MCU. It just the watch plot kind of vanished for like an episode or two.
Yeah.
The thing though is like they never really put the spotlight on that.
Yeah,
Like it was like a huge.
They don't, but at the same time, they kind of do, because at the auction, there's like an entire frame for like 30 seconds of this watch and where it's going. And
there's
they're
a
like, "Where's
lot
the
of
watch, bro?" And it's just like, "What's this watch about?"
Important, but it's not like this. Like it's not the huge crux of the show. Like the biggest.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But the ramifications of that watch getting out is huge for a show that's really personal for Clint.
Yeah, but
His whole entire family, and like, you know, spoilers, his wife's actual identity in this world.
Yeah.
That watch is huge, and it's just like they very much downplayed it, and it felt more like an after.
It's more of a setup than it is.
I should hope it's a setup, but give me Linda Cardellini as Mockingbird, please, now.
But the thing is, like, there are things like this in the show that are setups that are intentionally going to be threads hanging from the show. But like, and I can understand why people maybe don't like it that in the show. But it's like, you know, I mean, it's not like a huge, like, it's not a huge thing where it's like a make or break part of it.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Oh, I would have given the show a 10 out of 10, but because of the watch, I'm going to give it a 5." Like, I'm not like sitting here doing that. It's just one of those where
watch plot halves the score.
Yeah, I'm good.
That's funny.
Gonna make me Alex Jones. Right. But
listen, the show was great until the watch showed up. I hit the watch plot so much.
Oh, I mean, look,
putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' arrows gay.
This watch was, at least from my perspective anyway, as important as the Ronin suit. You could have done the show with one or the other MacGuffins, and take the watch out. It doesn't change anything.
Well, I think you don't get the reveal of little.
You don't. But at the end of the day, she's had how many seconds in the MCU? 12.
I mean,
like, she's not like, without knowing that, nothing changes. Like, yes, now we've got an idea of what she's done in the past. We still don't know if she's Bobby Morse or not.
Yeah.
They very well could turn around and be like, "Oh, she's Bobby's sister. Bobby's now the current like Mockingbird." They could very well do that. We don't know. That 19 doesn't really tell you that. But we know she has a history. But you could have had the entire show without the Ronin suit and just be about the watch, and you get the same result. Take that out.
Well, I
think that's a really interesting idea.
Well, I think the Ronin
doesn't change the show.
I think the Ronin suit was a little bit more of the MacGuffin of the show than it was.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it is the MacGuffin, but the show has two. But one, like, you can take either one of them out.
Yeah, but you can't explain, like, how are you going to explain or hint it?
That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't matter in the show's overall theme.
I mean,
if you don't find out who she is at the end.
If I can interject real quick before I do have to boogie, I want to.
All right, hold on. We'll put on pause on that. No, yeah, Jared's got a.
Okay.
Yeah, just real quick. I think both do work at their core. I think that the Ronin suit has more going on with it emotionally, because that's where you get into like the symbolism of Clint, like making peace with his very traumatic past. Like living through saving the planet however many times, then losing his family, losing himself in his grief. I think that the Ronin suit, there's an emotional weight to it, and I think there's also like a fun little, allegory to be had with it when it comes to metaphor with Kate unknowingly, like embracing Clint's darker history, and the way that, blind hero worship can kind of lead us into a dark place, and the fact that her like, oh, I'm just gonna do Hawkeye stuff. The very first thing she does is walk around in the suit he wore whenever he went on a Punisher style rampage. So while I do think I like the Ronin plot better, both do work. I think they just serve very different functions. I do have to leave. Thank you both very much for having me.
Thank you for joining. Thank you.
I have every intention of being back. come watch all the Nerd Academy stuff. Mitch was on for the No Way Home review, which was so much fun.
I could have talked about that thing for hours.
Yeah.
Same. Our review ended up being slightly longer than the movie, so that's when you know it's. Then that's how you know there's just a lot to be talked about.
Great companion.
Yeah, exactly. We had our prediction cast to whet your appetite, and now we have the dessert review. So go check all that stuff out. I will see all of you later.
Aged like fine wine, by the way.
Oh, it did. We killed it.
Good content. Very good content.
We killed it. Mitch, you were my prediction cast teammate. I am tagging you in for all of those. So that we crushed that.
I mean, I don't do too bad with these things. You know? I got the Soul Stone right in Infinity War. No one else.
You're pretty good.
Like I said, my crowning jewel was that at the age of 17, a week before it came out, at lunch in high school, I predicted the entire plot of The Force Awakens.
No better.
Like beginning to end, like hit every plot point, and I was blown away later that week when I saw it. But yeah, you guys have a good one. Happy New Year to everybody who listens, and see y'all later.
And Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, this watch. It's I agree with Jared. You know, it kind of it does to an extent. It works. I just don't feel it was important to the show.
I don't think. Look, I always equated that watch as an Easter egg ish.
Yeah.
Then
it's an Easter egg with a little sprinkle of plot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they focused a lot of time on the watch. I think they spent more time on him trying to get that suit and more focused on, you know, trying to give the whole thing of trying to get back to home for Christmas, you know, like, but I think the watch served as in just my opinion, as an Easter egg with the sprinkle.
I say I adore what the watch had done. I just feel like it could very well be I've been conditioned, and it's the double-edged sword of the MCU. I've been conditioned to think every little thing, tiny little detail is important.
Yeah,
and when you kind of focus on the watch at the start, when you know with the Ronin suit and the sword, it's like, well, what's this watch about?
Yeah, well, I think that probably goes for a lot of people. You know, maybe that's it's not. I don't know. I think that's maybe a problem of the MCU is like they put too much love. I mean, that sounds wrong, but like, you know, they put a lot of love in these movies.
They try and service everything at the same time. Yeah,
like a little bit of everything for everybody to enjoy, and sometimes to their detriment. You know, and
No, I completely agree with that.
You know, personally, I mean, as a fan, I love those little things. You know, sometimes it does get. I love the whole like speculation, like, oh, you know, I never get disappointed to like if it's not that watch led to anything or whatever, you know, whatever the thing was, as long as the main plot, you know, kind of has a tie, you know, gets tied up pretty neatly. I'm pretty much enjoying the show, you know. For
Oh yeah, it definitely it never stopped me enjoying the show. You know, I adore the outcome of it, even if it has now put like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. even more into flux. It's like, well, is she Bobby? Is she not? Is she Bobby's sister?
I'm going to tell you this:
the ease it could be done. I'm just like, oh yeah, Adrian Palecki's her sister. Like that's it's so easy to do. Is it going to happen? I do not expect it to happen. I absolutely love if it did.
I can tell you that like some shows mean something to the MCU, and some shows do not mean nothing. It will mean nothing to the show. The greater.
I am no, that's not right. I have fully accepted Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to absolutely be if it happens, it's not in the sacred timeline, to use a local phrase.
Yeah, I see Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. being somewhere in the multiverse, but I mean, look, by the end of that show didn't even know what it wanted to be. You know, by the end.
No. I that show should have ended at season 5.
Yeah, I 100% agree, because like that was a perfect ending. Like that could have been jumping off point for that show. And a lot of people use that as like I'm jumping ship right now, and like kind of ignore the last, because those last two or three seasons are just the worst.
I say I enjoyed the last. Actually, no, I'm not even going to lie to myself that I didn't. Like, they're not bad. They just don't. It's so hard to then get emotionally reinvested in characters you said goodbye to, in that everyone unanimously was agreed was the perfect sender for the entire show.
Plus, like, I think by those last couple seasons didn't even resemble what the show used.
No, it was definitely we had to jump the shark to bring this back and carry on.
It turned into something completely different by the end of the show, and like. Whether that was good for that show or not, I don't know, but it didn't work for me. I liked the first season, but then, like, by the first and second season, you kind of get the idea, like, this show is not canon, and this is never going to be connected.
I'd argue completely against that, because they went out of their way to connect or at least try.
Yeah.
The whole Winter Soldier affected that show right at the end of the first season, like.
Yeah,
you're supposed to think it's canon. Then you had Sif appear in a couple of episodes, and it's like, how is this not canon? And it's like, Daisy went to the same orphanage as Daredevil. Like, there's connection. Obviously, that's the TV side of things, but like there was always like the movies always affected the show, but the show never. Like, actually, that's even a lot of what I was going to say there. But the whole implication of Age of Ultron is Fury got the helicarrier from Coulson.
Yeah, no, look, but after the fifth season, it just didn't, like, I mean, I think they stopped trying because they weren't going to,
it felt like they just paid to be doing the show at this point.
Yeah, and I think effectively they just kind of turned the show into what they wanted to turn it into.
Yeah.
By the end of those seasons.
But hopefully we can get actors back for slightly different versions of the roles. I wouldn't be mad if Pilecki came back as Bobby Morse. I'm just saying.
I mean, I think the return of Kingpin and Matt could be a good indication that's a possibility.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be mad if Chloe Bennett showed up in Secret Invasion.
Yeah, I think some of those characters and some of those actors deserve a second chance. Whether they get it, I don't know. But like, it was
very convenient that Chloe Bennett had to drop out of Powerpuff Girls in the CW due to scheduling conflicts, right around the same time Secret Invasion was about to start filming. And what else is Chloe Bennett doing?
I don't know.
Absolutely jack. So I'm not saying she's gonna be in it, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's in it.
Dumping boyfriend, maybe.
I am not fishing for an answer.
But yeah, I mean.
Back to Hawkeye. What we're here to talk.
Yeah.
I need a Black Widow and Hawkeye movie or show. Just something. Just something with those two.
You never know. You might get that, but it might not be Clint though.
Oh no, so absolutely. Clint's retired in my eyes. Clint can stay over there. I just need Florence Pugh and Haley Steinfeld for like 2 hours. That's just all I need.
You know what the best part about this is, though, is Clint's still in play.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
He's still there, and like, I wouldn't put it past Jeremy Renner to come back in some way, shape, or form. So.
I mean, I kind of expected, like, why else would you leave him on the show doesn't even really specify he's retired. Obviously, it's Clint Barton in the MCU, he retires every 5 minutes.
He's always retiring,
and I find deliberate wording of the Hawkeye or the Marvel social media account saying the season finale, not the series finale. The heavy implication of there's going to be a second one, which you're not going to do. You could obviously focus more on Kate and then have Clint appear as a side character and flip the role.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, they never. I'll be honest with you. I love the ending. I love how they just kind of cut. Like it's her.
Yeah. They're trying to, or she's pitching like different names, and then you're just like, I've got an idea. Bang, title card.
Yeah. It's a perfect.
I still find it strange. It's a lowercase h. and everything else is capital. It's just like, why has everyone else got the capital H, like first letter, the proper grammar, but Hawkeye gets the lowercase.
I think that's isn't that the aesthetic of the
I think the comic has it, yeah. Like, but it's just, I just find it funny. It's like, why isn't it capital?
Very bad grammar, if that anything Hawkeye's.
I think it just lends more to the Hawkeye. It's just like the quote, the joke character is like, he doesn't even get the capital H. He doesn't get the capitalization. He gets a lowercase.
He's tired, so we don't need a capital letter.
No, Kate deserves the capitalization. Absolutely.
Yeah.
God bless that character.
Yeah, God, it was such a heart. Like I love that we got Haley Steinfeld for this. So
yeah, a lot of the show, I kept sitting there thinking, like, what would this be like with like Olivia Cook? If that had panned out, what would it have been like?
It probably wouldn't have been like nothing against Olivia Cook, but Haley Steinfeld was #1 pick every day, and like she's a great actress, and like the dynamic between, I think she has a great dynamic with every character that she encounters.
Yeah, there's like instant chemistry everywhere,
and it's just how she delivers.
Kind of crazy.
Perfect. It's like it's what I think of when I read like the Kate Bishop character in the comics. It's like that's how I hear her.
I was like, reading Kate in the comics, it would definitely be hard not to hear Steinfeld, though. Current Kate, and even Kate from Young Avengers, the one noticeable change I found was this Kate's more of a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Right now, where Kate, obviously it's comics, it makes it the character growth and like the arc there is better to have them be a bit like, wide-eyed and like slack-jawed. Whereas in the comics, Kate's like, no, I am Kate Bishop. I can do bam, 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 bam.
I think you'll get there though. I think eventually.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
The next time
I can kind of see them carrying, because I feel like introducing Kate Bishop here in this way and doing the Fraction run is a good way to make her the more Fraction Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Like the goofball stuff that Clint does in that series is, you can just transfer it over to Haley Steinfeld and have her be more of that role. Because I'll be honest, Kate at the start, like, I love that character in Young Avengers because that run is fantastic. She very much was just a straight shot. Pardon the pun. Like, she is the straight shooter.
If I remember correctly, they kind of swapped it, right? I think
I say from what I can see and what I've seen of the Fraction run, like they definitely swapped it around.
Because like in the MCU, Clint was always like this, so it'd be weird to see him.
I never expected them to have like Clint just hard left turn into being the Fraction goofball. That to me would have been like, why even that? What's the point in doing it? It doesn't work, and it goes against everything the last like decade and a half have taught us about how this like franchise works. But
so my question is, how do you like the suit? Like,
I adore the suit. Yeah. I would have. I know it's the trope of it's got to be in the last episode. I accept that. I get it.
Yeah.
I feel like the focus, the bigger reveal and the focus is obviously on Kate, whereas Clint's just like, you'll see me wear it for 5 minutes. Kate gets like quarter of an hour filling the suit.
Yeah.
It's like, I would have liked to see a little bit more of, especially because like the marketing for the posters and the banner on Disney Plus is literally them in the suits. It's like,
I think
that's giving it a little bit more.
I think the marketing kind of steered a lot of people in that direction too.
Yeah, it's very much like, hey, we're going to get the suits now. Though I will say, I adore the way they got them.
Yeah.
The LARPers are going to make it fantastic.
I love
them LARPers, like really good tailors.
Yeah, I mean,
fantastic. It's not like there's cosplay, there's really good cosplay, and then there's these guys.
Yeah,
I need to know how. Like, when did you make this stuff? Because it held up. Like Kate's suit held up after like all those arrows going off, so they did a good job.
Yeah, you gotta have good material when you're getting hit with like styrofoam, swords and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Well, explosions and like shockwave arrows. Like it holds up.
I love
being thrown by a giant man and stuff. Like.
So did you? So going back to the Kingpin, did you like the introduction? Like
I'm one of these, and I'll agree with Jared here. I would have liked a bit more of Kingpin. Like, I completely agree with him. Like Kingpin probably should have shown up in the show earlier.
Yeah,
because I think reintroduce. And I know the show's banking on the fact that you've seen like the 3 seasons of Daredevil, and you know how this character is. It's absolutely banking on that fact. I think for a more, because let's be honest, the wider, huger audience didn't see Daredevil. Like it might have been a massive show. Not everyone's seen it. I think it could have been like at least episode 5. Like you introduce that character like halfway through, and then you can have a bit more in the season finale as well. I think just having that like extra 10-15 minutes of him maybe, or even just like throughout the show would have personally for me been better. I liked the fact that on the flip side that they just literally plop him in here. It's like, it's literally the same guy, like he's acting the same, he's got the same mannerisms, that face twitch he does when Eleanor walks away. It's like, that's the Kingpin I know. That's how I can appreciate. It's just, they're treating him like every other character in the movies. Like they just, you don't need to be told, they're just here. I can appreciate that, but I think I would have liked a little bit more. But that's just.
Well, I think a lot of people probably would have liked that too.
He's just so good in that role.
Yeah.
And especially with the small tweaks to the power set of him, it's like, well, what else can he like? Just show me more of this Kingpin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he again, he's not going away anytime soon.
Oh
So
no. I don't get how that's even in the conversation. It's like the camera literally pans up, and you don't see anything. I know people make the argument, it's like, oh, it's Disney Plus, you can't see a guy get shot in the face. It's like, but it's literally like, come on, he's not dead.
Well, I mean, why do all this work to bring back Vincent D'Onofrio as probably one of the most popular characters in that show, just to come off, 15 minutes into his introduction? Yeah, exactly. It's I don't want to call people stupid, but
it's a dumb argument.
Naive.
Yeah, it's a very dumb argument. Like people not necessarily are stupid, but the argument itself is dumb.
I concur. I agree with you.
I adore the fact that D'Onofrio's like, I want to wear the family business. It's Christmas time. We're in a Christmas show. I'm wearing a red Hawaiian shirt. I adore that.
Like I told you, he was like 100% on board with what he what he was wearing. He's a fan of the comics. Like this is a guy that reads comics.
Oh yeah, because I watched that interview he did. Was it Vanity Fair?
Yeah.
He done recently where he talks about it, and it's just like, he just family business. Yeah, definitely. Like that was mine. Like, it's just like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Like you can tell he loves his character.
Yeah, and plus he's a comic book fan. He's always been a comic book fan, and like he, it's like every person that is in the business that is read comics. They always want to be in these movies. So like it's a dream come true for him, probably. So
yeah, because he talks about the Kingpin in like the old like 70s and 80s and 90s stuff. He's like, my Kingpin was always with Daredevil, Spider-Man, and I think he says a third one. It's like, so I'd absolutely want to be in Spider-Man. It's like 2, right? Spider-Man 4, Kingpin has to be.
I mean, it's never.
If the whole he's come out here and he's like, oh yeah, the motivation is I've lost control of my city, I want it back. Like even in the show, he's like, the people need to be reminded. Like, how do you not do that? Especially with how the Spider-Man movies work, where they don't tend to jump around years. It's like months or weeks. Like, like, even if it's the first like half an hour, have Kingpin in the damn Spider-Man movie.
Well, I also I think I've seen someone say that they don't think this is the same Kingpin because the Kingpin feels like in the show is more low rent because he's behind the tracksuit mafia. It's like, I don't know, like you could easily transition that Daredevil Kingpin to this Kingpin very easily. I mean, by the end of the film, he was going again.
I think what people tend to not miss or like realize. Actually, not realize is probably a better way of saying it. Is that the time gap between the events of Daredevil season 3 and now?
Yeah,
it's like 8 years in the MCU.
This is a guy that's probably rebuilding his business from the ground.
It's like, they for 5 years, for 5 of the 8 years since we've seen Kingpin in the MCU, like actual in timeline years, like they've had the blip and everything just collapsed in on itself. Like it was either going to be a case of he has more power than he's ever had, because like Daredevil wasn't there, which I would have really liked if they went that way. But having it this way, where he's lost the power he's had, he now has to go back and get it. Like, that's.
You also get kind of a scale of who the character is, anyways, too, from a line of dialogue that Clint says when they first see that image on the phone. Like, you don't. The look in his face is like, oh no, not this guy again. Like that's
he's absolutely aware of what's happened in like Daredevil.
Yeah, and plus he's aware that who this character is and what he's done. Like, you don't react that way to a character that is like just basically running the tracksuit mafia. This is a guy
also he's the Kingpin. Why wouldn't he be running the tracksuits? He'd be running every crime organization near enough in New York. That's why he's the Kingpin.
I look at it like I've always looked at this. The introduction is he's rebuilding, and like he still has the reputation of being the most violent, gangster in New York.
Yeah.
But yet doesn't have the power that he once had. Well, he has the power, but it's more power of fear versus like actual him sitting in the ivory tower power. That he show. And like eventually, who's to say that he doesn't get back to that point? Like
that's the arc I assume this Kingpin's going to be having. We never really got to that point in Daredevil. No, he never had the massive like I'm above looking down at the city view in Daredevil. So he's been knocked down from where he was, which is still high up. But now we're going to see him get back to what I assume is, because according to a certain movie, there's no Oscorp, so can't have the Oscorp Tower be the thing. So I assume it's going to be Kingpin Tower eventually.
That's like, who knows? I mean, it's there. Someone bought it. So.
Because that thing's just, it's just a symbol of power in New York, or it always was anyway.
It's the
like, why would you have the massive and the tallest building as well? Yeah, like.
I mean, it's over like almost every like real world building in New York, So, and plus, you also have the aspect of it's the center of New York, like almost literally the center of New York. I mean, it's not the center of New York, but it's like big events.
I mean, if you think of it like biology and like human body terms, it's where the heart would be. It's just slightly off center.
Because like if you've ever been to New York, the center of New York is just is Central Park. That's the central New York. Like the most power, like the most powerful parts of New York are always from Wall Street up to 42nd, where is that's all where all the power players are. And that would be more of like the quote unquote heart of New York. It's the like but the building also has a past of being a very big focal point of an event, So it's like if someone had obtained that building, it would be a very, very powerful symbol.
Yeah, it's literally an ivory tower.
Yeah, exactly.
We can get that shot that the Daredevil movie with Affleck done right, where he's Kingpin like looking down.
Yeah,
he's just standing there. He's now got the cane, so you can get that like iconic shot.
Yeah, overall, did you like the character?
Oh yeah, I love the fact that it's literally just the character I know. It is that version of Kingpin. He comes in here and plays exactly the same, and it got no qualms from me. Just like,
were you kind of, did you like that scene where he gets shot with the arrow? Did it kind of go, okay?
I'll be honest, I didn't notice the power scaling.
Yeah,
that difference at first. It's only people pointed out. I'm like, you know what? Actually, no. I'm not too sure if Daredevil Kingpin couldn't have got hit with an arrow and just gone meh, and knock it off with the cane.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't.
It felt believable to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like again, that show was never meant to be that type of.
No, like even.
But it was. He was
the time gap helps as well. I think it's like.
I think the most powerful of Kingpin in that show is when he was bashing that guy's head in with the door, or he was a very powerful person in that show, but it wasn't like.
It's not comic booky powerful.
Yeah, this is the MCU, so they kind of upgraded him a little bit. When it came to the powers.
I say, but like with even like at least the 5 years for the blip, it's like of course people change.
Yeah,
he could have done literally anything because he's slightly bigger as well. So obviously the size difference is an indicator like something's changed. So it's just general power scaling to me. I don't notice it. I don't knock it for anything unless it's like really egregious. Like what would it be? I can't even think of an example. No, it would have to be that bad.
Well, I mean, if you took a power blast from like Iron Man, that'd be a little weird. But
maybe that. Yeah.
I think that would be a little like I don't think I can't remember any time in the comics where he would get shot with like an energy blast like that, and But I mean, we'll be.
He's as resilient as he needs to be, and I'm totally fine with it. No.
I mean, yeah, I always boil everything down as like these are comic books. These are they're so far the MCU has lifted a lot of the stuff from the page almost verbatim sometimes, and like. What's the difference of taking that character and just kind of tweaking him and upgrading him just a little bit, to kind of feel like he can go on par with like I don't think that the Kingpin and Netflix could go toe to toe with Spider-Man. Like I don't think that would work in a way.
No. What if it was the Netflix version of it?
Yeah, the Netflix version. I don't think but like you take the character from Hawkeye that the
Hawkeye one definitely
could 100% go toe to toe with the Spider-Man.
No, it's weird having to make the distinction when the show wants you to not make the distinction.
Yeah,
but there is with the past games, it's kind of like well you kind of have to do that.
It's a double-edged sword, like
yeah.
You have to introduce the character.
It's just a natural progression at this point. It's like he spent his time in prison. He's got chunky.
Yeah, I mean,
man can't even lie down and put his head in the ground. Like he's that big now.
What else you got to do in prison? You lift weights all the time. So
exactly. And I think that might have been subconsciously why I didn't even notice it because like the last time we saw him, he's like he's lifting all these weights. So like he's just gotten bigger. Like that's what the Netflix shows were kind of leaning towards anyway. I thought like he's working out, he's going to be getting big, and by the time he comes out, he's going to be huge. And like, he's slightly bigger now. Like,
it's 7 years of pumping up, man.
No, the goal is to not be able to put your head in the ground past your shoulder. Like, that's the real gains. But, no, I adored the show. I adored Kate and Yelena. No, I do feel like Yelena kind of just like waltzed in here and was like, no, this is my show now, and then left. And literally did it again the next episode and left instantly. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I think you're going to see the repercussions of the Val steering her in the wrong direction.
Yeah, because this is. I've had this conversation with people because the end of Black Widow, we saw Val's like, "Hey, here's your next target." Blah 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 blah. No, it's Clint Barton. And then we go to Hawkeye. I don't think people have realized that the ending of Black Widow with that scene is supposed to be like around the same time as the show. Yeah,
a little bit. I think it's like a couple months after they go after the show.
Well, no, it's got to be. I say before, it's got to be within the show because Val's talking to her in the sense of, "Hey, this is your next target." And Eleanor hires Yelena during the show.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. It might be because people just forgot about that scene and didn't pay attention to it, and I just watched it recently, so that could very well be a factor in me picking up on that. But
I look at the character of Val being a very slippery, slimy type.
I would have liked to have seen Val in this.
Yeah.
And she very easily could have been swapped in for D'Onofrio. Like, if we didn't have Kingpin in the show, I think you could have had Val in here.
Well, I see Val as
a similar role.
Government shady,
Oh yeah, she definitely is. But I think you could have, the worst timeline, D'Onofrio doesn't come back, or for whatever reason.
Oh yeah.
I think this show, like with Val, obviously it would have been slightly different, but you could have had that same sort of a plot, like Eleanor going to Val and all this, and all like trying to get out and all that. I think it still could have worked that way, but
yeah, I agree.
I just like Val as a character. I want to know more. She intrigues me. It's like, who exactly? I know who she is, obviously.
Yeah,
but knowing that she's Madam Hydra, and it's like, but you're not acting in the way I'd expect. Like, what's the angle? What's the play?
Yeah,
I have an idea. I just don't know where you're going with it.
I suspect you'll be finding out soon.
I should hope so.
Yeah, it's interesting. After this, it's going to be very interesting, the interaction between her and Val the next time they talk. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Like, Yelena is going to be. I feel like she's the type of person that uses people's emotions against them. She clearly did it on Walker. She basically, telling him exactly what he wanted to hear in that show at the end of.
It's the same with Yelena at the end of Black Widow. It's like, hey, here's what you wanted to know. Like, go get it.
There's something in it for her. There's a gain, for her that Clint was going to die.
I honestly feel like she is the Osborn replacement for the Dark Avengers.
Yeah.
I can't get past this. Oh, I have a Captain America. I have a Black Widow now. It's like, that's not a Thunderbolts lineup. That's an Avengers lineup.
It's an event. That is Avengers lineup, yeah. But
especially with no Osborn, it's just like, well, hey, guess what's coming up soon? We've got Armor Wars. We can have an Iron Man. We can have an Ezekiel Stane, and I can be happy for the rest of my days. I can be happy with an Ezekiel Stane being the Dark Avengers Iron Man. That would chef kiss. Right.
Chef kiss.
That'd be perfect for me. I ain't holding my breath in it, but that's the way I'd go.
Well, she is building something. I mean, it's clear.
But it's just the angle. Like, is she? Cause I can't. Obviously, I know she's not a good guy. You're not supposed to trust her. But it's like, you can. Is she doing it? Like, is she doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, or is she doing the wrong thing
for the right reasons?
Yeah, I can't pin her down exactly.
I think her intentions are the mystery of
her.
She's clearly enjoying what she's doing. She's clearly doing it with smiles every time. Like,
I need her to do the rubber pencil bit from Seinfeld. She does. But it's just just once. Just like we're on the phone to Yelena or something. It's like rubber pencil.
Oh yeah, that, and I want to see the Elaine dance just once.
Perfect.
But I think you'll see her soon, and get a little bit more. You're gonna get a little bit more on her.
I mean, if I had to, I think there's at least 3. If I had to guess where she'd show up,
Armor War.
It'd be like She-Hulk, Armor Wars, or Secret Invasion.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. 2 out of 3.
She-Hulk for Blonsky, because hey, what's an Avengers lineup without a Hulk, right?
I mean, like they did say she's basically the Nick Fury.
Yeah, they did.
So yeah, I mean, she does need a Hulk character, so
And Blonsky's coincidentally black. Not black back. That's the Blonsky. That's a hell of a Freudian slip. Jesus. Someone's gonna. No one clipped that. Oh, nice. Yeah. With him being back, like.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, especially now that he's a little bit more Abomination, like, you know, like I never liked that design of the Incredible Hulk.
I don't the design of the Incredible Hulk in general in that movie I think is disgusting.
Yeah, it was
it's disgusting for the fact that, you know, the Hulk's just like exposed muscle, and it's disgusting for the fact that it's ugly as hell. But
it was a noble attempt, but just fell flat. It was a lot better than the Ang Lee version, but not as good as the MCU version.
Oh yeah. But I'm trying to think where I'd put Clint Barton again. Because I honestly wouldn't mind. In fact, I'd love it if we had like a Hawkeye and Mockingbird, like a one shot. I just want to see Linda Cardellini suit up in that look.
You could show up in Secret War, Secret.
Secret, yeah, because Mockingbird was a part in that.
Well, plus, like, he has ties to Fury. I mean, it's not like, I don't think he could be like a very big part of it, but he could show up on it. I mean, like, he was a SHIELD agent, for God's sakes, before the Avengers. And like, if anybody right now, Fury, like, as of right now, Fury is down. He doesn't have Tony Stark. He doesn't have Captain America. He doesn't have Black Widow. All he has really left is Rhodey and Clint from the old crew. And
Sam
and Banner. Yes.
Okay. Do you just mean like the original 6?
Yeah, I mean,
then yeah, you got. Depending if you can get hold of Thor or not, I suppose.
Yeah, I think he, like, right now, I think Fury only has 2 people on Earth that he can, like, pick up the phone and say, hey, can I, talk to you? Like, I think to talk to Thor would be kind of difficult because we don't know where he's at this point. I mean,
no.
He could be backing out. He could be, like, I mean, I feel like back around Secret Invasion, I think he could be completely off world, like, because Endgame he wasn't on New and he wasn't in New Asgard. He went with the Guardians.
Yeah, he left with the Guardians. Yeah.
So he was in space, which I guess Fury, but I think it'd be a little bit difficult because Thor doesn't have a cell phone or a pager or email. He only has.
It's true.
Crows as a message, but like. Well, I feel like he would have an easier time contacting Rhodey and Clint.
I was gonna say, being on the ship, and like with the Nebula's relationship with the Avengers. No, I imagine it'd be easier to get hold of him than.
But I mean,
it depends how close, and if obviously the compound's down. So how exactly do you do that? I'm not sure. But
we don't know if Secret Invasion takes place in space.
That's true. That's very true.
I would assume Secret Invasion takes place on Earth. So
I'd assume a combination.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just say that, like, Fury's only ties to the Avengers now. The original Avengers would be, there's only 3 people left.
Like Clint's the safest bet, like the one he probably trusts the most.
The 2 that are the easiest to contact. Like he can pick up a cell phone and call those 2. Thor would be.
Obviously, he can just press a button and get hold of Carol and solve the entire problem. But emergencies only.
That 1996 overpowered, Motorola pager. But I mean,
if it's
say that, who's to say that, like, Carol's even close to where she could be.
True. Yeah, there is a lag. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I just go back to those 2 characters where he could just pick up a phone and call them, and versus, like, jump through some major hoops to try to get a hold of those 2 characters.
I mean, that could be something if it turned, they just go like, oh yeah, Linda Cardellini, Laura Barton, she was a Skrull the entire time. Rockingbird's actually ever here. That'd be horrendous.
My kid half Skrull.
They could do it.
That would be weird, but funny.
Mm-hmm.
That would be
poor Clint.
You might turn him back into Ronin.
He's like, why did I burn the suit? No.
But it also, I think the one thing people didn't, I don't think people picked up on. There was a conversation between, and maybe they did pick it on, but they really didn't talk about it. But, like, he talked about when he was with Yelena, like we were both weapons, we were both used. I'm kind of thinking that he wasn't talking about the time that he was wearing shield, shield clothing. There's a possibility that he could have been Ronin in the past. Like he could have been, used by the government as a weapon. Does that make sense?
I mean, I just assumed he was talking about, like, because Shield's a government thing, right? Like,
yeah.
opposite, like, so he's like a
he
thing
said
for
it.
Shield.
The way he said it, it sounded like and like this is not insider information. I'm not trying to hint at anything. I just thought I'd pick out some interesting fact, but like it's the way he delivered that line, it sounded like he kind of felt used. I don't know. Maybe I'm picking.
I mean, yeah. I think.
I guess like
I think that's the intention to give off. I'm just more thinking of was he Ronin before? Like you could do it.
The costume. I'm going to tell you right now, the costume's not completely gone. So.
I mean, I did have to smile because it's like you have that costume and it's not fire resistant.
Well, not to say that he didn't destroy that costume, but the history of that costume isn't necessarily.
Oh no! Like, it's like the comics, right? Where the multiple people are Ronin, and there's different ones. Christ, Maya was a Ronin at one point, wasn't she?
Ronin, right? Went with the Avengers, so.
Yeah.
And then Blade.
I think Blade was Ronin.
It wasn't what's his face? Red Guardian Blade too at one point. Was
Red Guardian Ronin? I'm not sure.
One of the Red Guardians was Ronin, like the original or something like that, was dressing up as Ronin.
I can't remember, actually. Could be.
Comic book nerd talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's still, I think there's still questions about the show that haven't been answered intentionally. So.
Oh yeah, because I feel like the more focus here was Clint facing like every angle of his legacy.
Yeah.
Like the past, the present, and the future of it, and how he deals with that, and how that legacy then moves forward.
Yeah.
And I like the whole turnaround where it's like he's not out to replace Natasha, because obviously he can see that in Yelena, but Kate's kind of become the new version of that. It's like I can't stop you. You're good at it, so I might as well
mentor you.
Try and nurture it, and push you in the right direction to be how you should be. Like catch you if you fall, sort of a mentor role.
I love how Kate kind of like it almost feels like every episode she was peeling a layer of Clint.
Slowly just breaking him down.
Yeah, like he was very at the beginning of the show. He was a very guarded person. Like he was always like that. He was always a guarded person. Really.
Oh yeah, and you're gonna be with this random 20-year-old you don't actually know. Why would you ever open up to this random child?
But I mean, like he was, and I think the show did a post-traumatic stress disorder probably better than anything I've ever seen in a TV or movie or whatever, man. Like when he was sitting in Rogers the Musical and he saw the person playing Nat in the show, and like he just kind of got like this,
he just zones out.
Yeah, he kind of zones out, and then he goes to the bathroom. He sees Thanos was right. It's just
I'm really glad you mentioned that. Just to divert a little bit, if I had to change one thing about this show that wasn't the watch, it would be Clint dealing with the whole Thanos is right thing a little bit more. So I know it's one of those where you see it, you're just like, oh, for God's sake, he doesn't care to try and change people's minds, and that is just because he's done. He's like, what, you can't really do it, but he's in that apartment. He's got all the stuff and the frozen peas, and he's got the Thanos is right mug, and it's like a small little back and forth couple of lines with him and Kate about that. I think would have been nice. He never mentions it. I don't know. It's obviously Clint is dismissive, but it's like I would just like the little, because he mentions that in the LARPing. He's like, I thought Thanos. It's like nothing about the Thanos was right line when it's right there, especially when he's like disenfranchised with everything. It's like you could have maybe just a tiny bit, but apart like it doesn't hurt the show. It's just something I would have.
No, it's something
personally.
like that. But yeah. I think the one thing I took away from the show is like I miss New York. God, I miss New York.
Yeah.
Like I was living there for almost 20 years, and like I got sick when I was leaving for here. I was just like, I'm over this place. But then I started watching the show, and I was like, man, I kind of miss it. Rockefeller Center, you know, like
can't go back now.
Yeah, never know. Go back, you know. But yeah, like a little tear to my eye. Did you like the Hank the Pym arrow when they were doing the track?
Yes. I'm sad that the credit scene with the owl taking it back to the nest didn't make it in.
I think that would have been a little too morbid.
No, but I think it would have been fantastic. Like having the Rogers musical and then that at the end, like, because let's be honest, just even having them showing the owl pick him up and take him away, that's morbid enough. Like that is, like, you've already had it in. Like,
and then he kind of dismissed it too. Like she's like, "What do you think that owl's gonna do?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know." Like we all know what's gonna happen. Like,
yeah, I just like the fact that the owl's sole reason for being there was to pick him up. It's just like, oh.
And then he's like, I gotta call Hank on that one, or I gotta call
Scott. Yeah. But I find it funny. He has pin particles to shrink, but not to not to grow things like that.
Well, I think they used the growing one on the arrow.
I suppose a limited, it's a limited amount, isn't it? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
They were making the arrows, like the tricky arrows and stuff like that.
I really like that scene.
I love it. Yeah, it was so beautiful too. The shot was beautiful. Like just them.
It also it adds to Clint's character of opening up a bit more. So he obviously, people would be like, oh, but who said you can't make anymore? It's like he's bold-faced lying.
Yeah, he's 100% trying to keep her from pursuing this life by saying that, and like now, like in the thick of it, it's like, well, I gotta make it. I kind of gotta make it now. So
yeah,
I love that the montage scene of them making arrows and like, yeah, I think if I take away one thing, I think the Kate Bishop and Clint Barton relationship was probably the best. Like part of the show.
Oh, hands down. By far the best.
Wobbles about that dynamic.
No, this is definitely, for me, character-wise, the strongest one out of all the shows.
Yeah.
Hands down, easily. The dynamic between Kate and Clint, the chemistry those two have is just fantastic.
Chef's kiss. Yeah, and Haley Steinfeld. Worth the fighting to get.
100%. There was a time where I was like, oh no, Hawkeye's going to be the Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Cassian Andor we're never going to see. It's just going to get delayed and pushed back, and it's never actually going to happen because they're trying to get Steinfeld. And then lo and behold, the world went to crap and it gave us Steinfeld as Kate Bishop. So
if there's one positive with COVID, we got
100%. It's like, what? Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah. It's a positive. You gotta look at the positives. Accentuate the positives.
It's definitely. I need either a Hawkeye and a Mockingbird, like one shot, or I'd even take like a 3-episode show, to be honest. Give me like a proper mini, like a nice tight little flashback sort of a deal. Or the main one is absolutely the Black Widow and Hawkeye with Yelena and Kate. I need that so much.
Yeah. They are bringing back something from the MCU past oeuvre of the digital short should be.
Because I think wasn't it Nate Moore who's like, we're doing one shots.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are they? I need proof. This was years ago. This was said now.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long to film a one. Obviously, COVID's in the way of everything.
Yeah. I think they're trying to get the shows out proper and focus on.
Mate.
They are coming back.
Well, I mean, I assume the holiday special is the first of the one shots, isn't it?
The Guardians.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know how long that is. So
I mean, I assume a holiday special just tends to be the one.
Oh yeah, it's a one shot. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I assume it's the first one of.
Yeah. Of more to come.
Yeah. Sorry, I never realized. I never put that 2 and 2 together in that until just then. It's like, oh yeah, the holiday special is a one shot. Like, duh, of course it is.
But they're trying to bring back the shorts too, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like the holiday special is that.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not going to be like a full feature length movie. It is just going to be a short.
Yeah, I think it's like 30 minutes, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
30
I mean,
minutes.
that's enough, to be honest. You don't need anything longer. Like an hour tops, maybe, like an episode of a show, but it'll be what it'll be, and I'm sure it'll be good.
Sure.
Nice. I'm kind of like a little bit lost in like because we've got so long until Moon Knight. Or at least like, what I assume is Moon Knight is going first.
Yeah, I think I can't say. I can't really say right now, but I know Book of Boba is supposed to kind of like kind of fill in the gaps of what we're not getting until I think the next one drops after Boba.
I mean, I assume it was going to be after. Like,
stating the obvious, I guess.
To say, can't be before or during because we've heard about it by now. But no, it feels weird because we haven't got never got a concrete date for these things anyway because they change their minds like the bloody wind. But it's weird that there's no. We spent the last year being like, right, cool, we've got this thing here, 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 this thing here. Now it's like, well, we've got this thing's coming. But there's no like actual. It's no like even with what's coming on 2022 Disney Plus thing. Like it's only ever streaming 2022, streaming summer 2022. It's like I need a date, Disney. Like when's the next? Like let me consume content. Like when's the next thing coming? Like what? Don't starve me out here.
Yeah, I would assume that that's because of COVID. Because like
100%, yeah.
I'm 100% sure they don't even know what's what because I think Armor Wars hasn't even started. I think it started pre-production in next year. So
I was about to say 2022 or 2023, but it'll be 2022, I assume.
2022, yeah.
My brain was already like we're in 2022, but we are not.
I think both Moon Knight and She-Hulk are pretty much done. They're in post-production, so
yeah.
I'm assuming that it has to be either one of those two that are going to be.
If that coming 2022 thing was any indication, I think Moon Knight would be first because they showed that footage off, and then it went She-Hulk, and then it went Miss Marvel.
Well, I'll be honest with you, like I would prefer She-Hulk first, but like it would make more sense to have Moon Knight and then put She-Hulk in next to kind of lighten the mood a little bit because Moon Knight's really it's kind of really almost depressing sometimes.
Good.
So, you need a little bit of a palate cleanser from that show. It's so good too, so good.
I can't wait for what they got coming up because She-Hulk's 12 episodes, right? Isn't it a half-hour comedy?
Half-hour comedy, yeah.
So you got. Fingers crossed they don't do the 2 episodes in one. I know it's a half hour, but like,
don't be mad if they do.
Like, if you want to stretch out your calendar and not have massive gaps, because let's face, the whole talk of the slow growth in Q4 for Disney Plus. Like, hey, you have a 12-week show, stretch your content. Like, you've got literally double the length of a normal show. Just do it week by week, like. And I ain't getting complained about 12 weeks of content, right? More money for me, but yeah. So I think an hour and a half is plenty enough to talk about Hawkeye as a whole. I don't think there was any like slow episodes. I think this kind of like came in with a bang, it left with a bang, and it was a nice little plateau.
I think out of all the shows, it's been the one consistent with all
Yeah,
Little
I think it's definitely the tightest one.
Yeah.
It's
I would-
definitely like
Well, I think
one. I
this-
adored WandaVision, but it got a bit wonky in the finale.
Well, this is the one that really didn't get affected too much by COVID.
No,
You know,
no.
with the filming, anyways. You know, like a lot of the filming got done. You know, before this whole, you know, the variant came, you know, into effect, and like, yeah, I think the WandaVision and the Falcon and Winter Soldier suffered greatly because of that. Because of the
I say it feels like Falcon got the brunt of everything. Because obviously you can really tell that there's a whole subplot missing in that show that never really came to fruition because obviously it had to be cut. But WandaVision is like it kind of loses track of itself slightly in the finale, but it sticks to somewhat landing.
Yeah. I think because I think that definitely suffered the most. That was the show that really got really affected by that.
Whereas Loki has the benefit of it's all an enclosed set.
Yeah, it's all set. I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically all the same thing as what the Mandalorian was doing.
Yeah, yeah. So that has that benefit in Hawkeye. You know, it's a smaller, it's a personal thing.
Yeah, I mean, and like Hawkeye was filming probably at the low point of the COVID.
I'll say it's the summer, wasn't it? Of 2020, yeah.
It wasn't.
And it wasn't a long shoot either.
No. It was very short. It was like short.
Out real quick.
I think
and you can tell there's some like set work, like enclosed, like green screen, the car chase, the Rockefeller.
Well, they did.
I might be wrong on the Christmas tree in the finale. Actually, I'm not but it seemed like it was a set.
They did film a little bit on Rockefeller Square. The problem with Rockefeller Square is like it costs an arm and a leg to get that place closed down.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to keep it, you know. But they did do stuff late at night when there wasn't a lot of people. Was set work on that for that shoot too. So and because of the chase scene, you could not do that. Like it's 100% not possible to do.
Oh yeah, because the amount of New York you have to shut down for it will be silly.
Yeah. It like you can barely go over 5 miles a mile speed, you know, on the Manhattan Bridge. There's no way you can get that fast. Even when you close down, like you still have people going. Like I don't know, New York. You know, it's New York. They make noise. The people are always crowding. It's hard to do. There was stuff done on location for that too, but the chase was mainly, you know, on a set. Yeah,
because it's not to knock it, but the whole close-ups, it's like the close, just watch the background. It's obvious, but it's still it was good there. No, not gonna
it's the price you pay when you film in New York.
Yeah, 100%.
Because like when they were filming the Netflix stuff, like I mean, 90% of that was done in Williamsburg. You know, Brooklyn, you know, not Harlem. You know, they did some Harlem stuff for Luke Cage, but if you go 10 feet, you see like the same buildings you've seen in Iron Fist. You know, like and then nothing, and they had to set dress a lot of that stuff to make it look like Harlem. But
it's just the magic of filmmaking, isn't it?
Yeah, the magic of movies,
movie and TV magic. But yeah, that's gonna bring us an end to this. We will be back next week with the Book of Boba Fett, or as someone's unfortunate typo in the Facebook group, the Book of Boba Feet. I like that. I adore that typo. Just like
it's nice to know that people are concerned about Boba's feet, though.
I mean, it's the sand. Like he wears a lot of black. Like gets hot. Like it's.
You get blisters. I mean, I wouldn't mind people like caring about my feet.
He's old as well. Like
it's like a broom. But I mean, it's very nice of them to be concerned about his feet.
Exactly. Either that, or it's the complete opposite, and it's like an OnlyFans exclusive thing. Like it's literally a book of Boba's feet.
It's like I'm gonna rub my feet, his feet.
So no kink shaming. If you like Boba's feet, you like Boba's feet.
Like, hey, man, everybody loves something, right? And
exactly. You do you. You
I
want the
play-
feet, you go get the feet. So yeah. on that note, yeah, we'll be back with not Boba's feet, but Boba Fett. So yeah.